It's Talma here, and today on The Collective Speaks, we are talking about Love Island. Yes, Love Island.
I also want to be the person that gets up and makes everyone a coffee so everyone's ready for the morning.
Hi.
We're not talking about Love Island in the way that you're expecting, the way you've probably seen already, because I feel like there's enough of that, you know? There's enough reviews and catch-ups and debriefs. We're talking about Love Island in a way that's a bit more thought-provoking, you know? Like, enough of the usual takes. Because here in The Collective Speaks, we like to do more than give you the usual takes. So yeah, let's actually deep dive into the most popular dating show out right now. But in fact, Love Island isn't just a dating show. It's marketed as one, but I feel like it's actually more of a social experiment. Like, I guess in the beginning, when it was first coming out, you could say, yeah, this is just a dating show. Like, people come on, try to find love. But now...
No, you're a fucking bitch! Come sit down. Your feelings are validated, babe. Your feelings. I sat there listening. He really is. Fuck him. Oh my... Fuck you.
It's definitely become a social experiment that everybody is a part of. Not just the islanders, us as well. If you look past the romance, it's really just a window into how this generation thinks, how we feel, how we react to conflict, how we consume media, how we behave, how we form relationships. It reflects our attitudes towards beauty, race, conflict, again, fame, mental health, and even gender. Well, I feel gender is actually the most common one. Every summer, we laugh, we judge people. We laugh, we judge people, we criticize, we tweet about them, we come onto our group chats, we vote, and then you come to realize, like, you know what? Maybe the biggest lesson and the biggest takeaways isn't from the islanders. It's actually something a little bit deeper than that. So I'm going to start by making this claim, which is that Love Island isn't about love. It's actually about us, ... So let's talk about that. And I actually have some notes. So my first one is that social media has changed relationships, which I think is a given. Like, we all know that. We know. But let's actually talk about why. So Love Island today is not the Love Island it was in 2015, where it's just a bunch of regular people who literally have no clue of what their life will be after Love Island. If anything, they think that their life is simply going to be coming on this show, hopefully meeting the one, probably moving in together, getting married and having kids and going on about their life. Love Islanders before had no clue what they were actually getting themselves into. Contestants today know exactly what to expect when they go on the show. Contestants now are constantly aware that there are millions of people, not just in the UK, globally, watching them, watching their every move, watching what they say, watching how they act. They are so hyper aware of that now.
Personality.
Oh yeah.
Personality's mint.
Yeah.
I can't fault
You
her.
can't.
Oh my god.
You can't ask anything more.
Nah. Literally, if I talk Liv, it's like talking to Jada Wig on. It literally is.
Yeah, 100%.
And I find that funny as but it's just not that 100% where I look at her and go, I haven't got the girl there where I'm like, me, I want to rip the clothes off. I don't want to fake any shit, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to be here thinking, yeah, I really do like her when really it's not.
Oh my god.
I don't, I'm lying to myself.
So even if they aren't consciously playing a game, they are aware of public opinion. So they're thinking about public perception, they're thinking about potential brand deals, they're thinking about becoming influencers, they're thinking about how to avoid getting cancelled. And I do feel like that heavily influences the decisions they make. At the end of the day, you do want to win, but you also are aware of the fact that even if you don't win, there is a big life waiting for you outside of the island. Although that's not always the case for everybody. For some people, there is a big life waiting for them outside of Love Island. And you want to strategize and position yourself in a place where brands are literally clawing at you. But I kind of want to compare this, I guess, level of performance to how we perform ourselves outside of the villa and just the level of consciousness that we have about our own relationships. So when dating, people think about, is there a partner attractive to others? Not a blanket statement, but you know, people think about, is my partner attractive to other people? Like, yes, I'm attracted to you, but do other people think you're nice? Do other people fancy you? That's why you have the whole thing of some boys sending their girl or the, you know, girl they may be interested in to their GC, trying to gather thoughts, which I think is childish. But there are boys that do that. Then we have girls talking to their girls about the guy that they're interested in, and then the daunting experience of them wanting to see what he looks like, sending in a picture, looking for the best picture he has, and then being like, he looks better in person. That is a level of consciousness we have when dating. We're not just thinking about how we feel. We're thinking about, okay, well, how do other people think he's good? Do other people think he's nice? Anybody? Then we think about, again, playing into that, what will other people think about our partner? Even if it's not just their appearance, it could be their job, it could be what people know about them, their past, what people have heard about them. Just what are people's thoughts going to be about you dating this man or this woman? Then there is what I think has become the biggest one, which is, how is my relationship going to look to others? People care so much about what they can post, what they can show, what they can talk about, whether it's the type of gift that they got for Valentine's Day, whether it's how they celebrated their anniversary, whether it's the dates that they go on, the frequency of the dates that they go on, whether it's the memories they can show, the cute, like, black and white photo booth pictures, whether it's Polaroid pictures, whether it's just snaps and TikToks that you make together, all of that. Literally ties into what I was saying again, like, what can you show off? The gifts, the experiences, the dates. That's the level of performance that we are at. So my question, the first question of the day is, are people dating each other or are they dating for an audience? ... And I feel like that really creates a broader question about authenticity in the day and in the age of social media. Because every few years, social media kind of resets and the rules, standards, and expectations for men and men change alongside that. With all of the Shearer Sevens, the Wizard Lizzes, the expectations and the standards of what a good relationship should look like, what a good man should look like, or what a good woman should look like, they change. And many of the ideas of what constitutes a good relationship come from what we see online. And that has become the case so much so that even if somebody does not personally agree with what they're seeing online, they'll kind of just go with it because people like to conform. We could really tap into some psychology here. We really could. But people will conform with what is the new social norm, even if they don't truly internalize that belief. So it's almost like we outside of the villa have our own cameras that we are conscious of and that we perform for, similar to the villa. The only difference is the environments in which we are performing in. So let's move on to number 2, which is that pretty privilege is 100% real. It's 100% real, but we're not going to talk about pretty privilege in the ways that you guys may hear. Like, I love being pretty because it gets me 3 wings and chips for free. We're not talking about that. We're talking about something else. So, Love Island literally shows us how physical attraction... Love Island literally shows us how physical attractiveness impacts first impressions of us, forgiveness, opportunities, your confidence, who gets approached, and how we are treated. I believe that the villa becomes a controlled environment where beauty and attractiveness and appearance just has this like outsized influence. But this is especially interesting when we're looking at the whole issue of race on Love Island. And this conversation comes up literally every single year, especially since Love Island USA was introduced. But we're looking at the differences between Love Island USA and Love Island UK, and the issue that Love Island UK has with, I guess, the the tokenism of black people on the show. I'm gonna put that phrase out there. So for those who don't know, tokenism is basically when you have this kind of superficial, kind of shallow, or maybe even like more of a symbolic effort to include like marginalized groups or minority groups in something, and it's done to prevent like criticism and just make it seem as though something is more diverse than it actually is and promote inclusivity. But the issue with this is that it's only pushing the appearance of equality and diversity. It's not truly, you know, making the effort for that inclusivity to be there. Now, I'll start by saying sometimes we Londoners, we have just a smidge, un poquito, of main character syndrome, where we think that because we have such a like dominating voice and presence in London, we forget that the rest of the UK is not like that. I'm pretty sure that the percentage of black people in the UK is like 4. It's like 4%, 4 point something. And that's in the entire UK. But in London, it should be like 13. These are just stats off the top of my head. I think it's 13.5. I will fact check that. But it should be like 13.5, which again, for 13, they aren't big percentages, but I guess, like I said, we are allowed. Even if the 13.5% of the population that we make up, even if it's not a huge population, our presence and our contributions to just London culture is very much seen. There's no denying it at all. But I do feel like that's why when we watch shows like Love Island UK, that's why when we watch shows like Love Island and we see only one black girl start off the season, one black guy start off the season, everybody else be white, we're like, huh? Like, how is it that you managed to find, I guess, what is it, like 5 white women or 5 white and Asian Latina women, but usually the cast is majority white, but you can't seem to find like even 2 black girls to start off the season? And that's just not an issue that Love Island USA had. We need to do something about this because it's getting a lot now. That is something that we have to question. Why is there a difference between Love Island USA and Love Island UK? Is the USA more progressive? And who would have thought we'd ever hear that be said? Is the USA more progressive when it comes to race, at least on their TV, than the UK? But let's actually touch on this season, where Shakira from, I believe it was last year's Love Island, spoke about the fact that Love Island is in fact diverse, and said that it was diverse due to the increased South Asian representation.
You might hate me for saying this, but someone's just said, why does Love Island UK lack diversity unlike Love Island USA? I think people are getting really caught up on there being a lack of black people, which is absolutely fair. But I think you're also taking the fact away from, we've got 3 South Asian people on this year.
And don't get me wrong, I do understand her point, because I do think historically, South Asian people, there just has not been many on the show. I feel like the first South Asian woman was Sanam. I hope I'm not making up somebody. If we look at this show, like historically, we have seen Africans, we have seen Caribbeans, we have seen Latinos, we have seen Europeans, but we haven't really seen many South Asian people come on the show. In general, we just haven't seen many Asian people on the show. So from that standpoint, I would agree. It is more diverse than people are giving it credit for. But I think the issue is when black people are talking about an issue in their community, something that they feel could be improved on, and then a non-black person chimes in. And the issue is, it's a very controversial thing, because at the end of the day, if we do want change to happen, doesn't matter what the change is, what field. If you want change to happen, you need allies. You need people from other races that support you and can help you obviously reach that goal. But sometimes there's a tendency for people who are not black to chime in on conversations that involve black people and they just say the wrong thing. Like, they just say the wrong thing. And I think that's why sometimes it's okay to just not speak. It's okay to not speak about something that you have experience firsthand with. And it's okay to not speak about things that you just simply don't have enough knowledge on. It's okay. But it also reminds me of the issue that I have with the term BAME, which doesn't even really exist anymore. Thank God. But yeah, I never was a fan of that term. And I wasn't a fan of that term because it implies that Black, Asian, and other ethnic minorities all experience the same thing, all feel the same way, all have the same struggles, all have the same... We're not all fighting the same fight. That's just... Like, the only thing we have in common is that we are all held back in some way due to our race, our culture, ethnicity. But the reality is that there are things that Latinos struggle with that Black people don't. There are things that Black people struggle with that Asian people don't. There are things that Asian people struggle with that Latinos... We just don't share... It just paints all these different cultures and ethnicities and communities with the same paintbrush. And that's just... No. Especially if you're trying to make change, which I was saying before, you have to target the different communities accordingly. You cannot try to resolve the issues that Black people face by approaching them as if they were Latinos, if that makes sense. Not to mention the intersection. There are Blasians that are experiencing things that other Asians aren't experiencing, and that's simply because they have... Guys, we're back. I apologize. My voice, whoa, what happened? What the hell? But back to what I was saying. There are Afro-Latinos, there are Blasians who experience what other Asians experience, but even worse, and that's simply down to them being half Black or Black, you know what I mean. You get the point. But I say all of that to say that's just the issue with the term BAME. We don't all understand. An Asian woman or a Latino woman will not understand what I go through as a Black woman, what I go through as an African woman. Same way as I won't understand what an Asian woman or a Latina woman goes through, because I haven't walked in those shoes and I haven't lived those experiences. So I'm glad that that term got scrapped, but this was such a BAME moment where, because somebody is also an ethnic minority, they feel as though they can speak on behalf of another ethnic minority. Like, increased representation for South Asian people does not take away from what Black people are experiencing. You know, which you'd think you wouldn't have to say that, but I guess you do. But also it just also didn't make sense considering what the actual conversation was, which was that we are having Black women come on the show and all go, well, not all, but a lot of them go through a very similar storyline, which is coming on the show, being the only Black woman. The public decides to put her with the only Black guy because they're both Black, which is something else that we'll get into. But the public decides to put her with the only other Black guy on the show, only other Black person on the show. Then he doesn't end up actually being attracted to her, but she is attracted to him. And then she is left for the next couple of weeks waiting for somebody to come in and love her, whilst the Black guy goes and explores other people, which there's no issue with. But the question is, why do we keep running into the same kind of guy? If it's possible for you to find a Black woman who is interested in Black men, it is possible for you to find a Black man who is interested in Black women. But it almost seems as if they're going out of their way, which I'd hope is not the case. But it almost seems as if they're going out of their way to find people that won't be attracted to the Black woman. And it's like this whole humiliation. It's almost like this humiliation ritual of coming on the show. No one's interested in you. And I want to talk about that some more because... But anyways, bottom line, I've run on a tangent, but bottom line is that Shakira, she just missed the point. She just completely missed the point of what Black women and men were talking about. But I digress. I also want to say that I feel like representation is the wrong word, and culture is what we should focus on when we're talking about contestants. Because, like I said before, we've seen Asian people, we've seen Black people, we've seen Africans, we've seen Caribbeans, we've seen Latinas, we've seen European people, like we've seen people from different places, but culture is the issue. You know, there are a lot of people who are attracted to all races, who are attracted to all ethnicity, or, you know what I mean? There are many people who are attracted to all races. There are many people who are attracted to multiple different types of ethnicities. So why not try and get contestants like that on the show? Why get contestants on the show that only have a specific type? And why get contestants on the show knowing that no one on the show is going to be interested in them? You know, and I feel like it speaks to the duty of care that producers have and casting. But again, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Because, yeah, I feel like at the end of the day, it's more of a casting issue than a representation issue. Because if we're asking for representation, we can look at previous cast members from all the seasons and say there is representation. It's just the culture clash.
There has been black men on the show that have dated both black and white women. I don't know how you solve that problem unless someone exclusively says, I only date black women. Obviously it's an issue. How do we fix that? I don't know. I'm not on the casting team. Unless people are blatantly saying, I'm only attracted to black women, I don't know how you cast for that.
And I literally wrote down here that in real life, I don't know a single black man who doesn't prefer black women or doesn't date black women at all. I don't know a single black man. I'm trying to think. Wait. Okay, I thought of one. But that's one person of all the black guys that I've come across in my life. I can only think of one. And I think that is the case for a lot of girls. It's so rare, unless you live in a certain type of area, then I guess. But it's so rare to meet a black man who is not attracted whatsoever to black women. So why is that the archetype, shall I say, of man that we keep running into on this show? Like, why is that? If that's not something that is like a real life issue, why is that what's being put on our screens every single year? And I will say, black men in some ways do find it easier to date outside of their race. I believe that has to do with fetishes in some ways. Not in all ways. I do think it's very possible for you to just see somebody from another race and be attracted to them simply because they're good looking. But there are people who are attracted to black men for things that I don't think I want to say. But let's just say sexualizing black men. There's that whole trope, I guess, or swag and all the things in that space, you know. So I think it just becomes a bit of an issue when you have one type of person coming on a show and struggling, and everybody else kind of has like just this straightforward journey. And I say straightforward, obviously excluding just the ups and downs of the relationships and recoupling and getting to know people. I mean straightforward in the fact that a white lady can come on the show and not have to worry about whether or not anyone will find her attractive. A white man can come on the show and not have to worry about whether or not anyone will find him attractive. Even a black guy can go on the show and not have to worry about whether or not anyone will find him attractive. But for some reason, every year black women come on the show and have to worry about the ways in which they act, the ways in which they're perceived, the ways in which the public will see them, and of course have to worry about whether or not there will be somebody on the show that finds them attractive. Like if we look at people like Whitney, she was going through it on that show.
All I'm going to say is, let it out. Because I can see you're really holding it in.
I know, you need to be
good.
vulnerable.
Yeah, come on. It's okay. It's okay to let it out.
Oh my God.
That's days and weeks of emotions that she's kept in.
Bro, that's what
she's kept in.
That's what I was saying about the whole Meddy and Whitney thing, bro. You can see it was real, fam.
We can look at people like Whitney, we can look at people like Yuande, Catherine. Like, there have been a number of black women who's, even if you look at Amber, who is mixed race, she also had a bit of a struggle, I guess, when it came to like men being attracted to her. And even though she is mixed race, there was still that whole thing of, oh, she's half black. Not to say that that was anybody's reason, but the fact that she's half black, and then the personality that people feel comes with women who are black or tap into their black side more, or mixed race. The typical story for the black woman is that she comes on the show, no one really fancies her in the beginning, she waits weeks and weeks for somebody to basically look her way, and it's sad because the guys that come on the show later on have definitely watched the show, or at least can know enough about the show before coming in to know who is maybe struggling, know who is a fan favorite, know who the public likes, and of course that producers will probably point them in certain directions. But even without the producers, they will know who people are rooting for on the show. And I think even if we look at Mimi and Josh, for example, a lot of people liked Mimi. Not to say that Josh coupled up with her because of that, but people liked Mimi and they saw everything that she went through with Ayo, I think. Was it Ayo? I think so. I think so. I'm pretty sure it was him. I'm just trying to remember cast members and like storylines and stuff. But they'll look at that and then decide, okay, it might not be a full influencing factor, but they might think, okay, at the end of the day, you want to win. You want to take home 25k. So I'm going to couple up with this black girl because, you know, everybody outside seems to be liking her. And so if enough people vote, we can win. And I can go home with 25k. So you almost have to question as well the motives and the genuity of the guys that do decide to couple up with these girls later on. It's just so many things that black women have to worry about or be aware of on the show that women of other races just don't. But stepping away from race for a little bit, because we have stayed on race for my thigh itches. We have stayed on race for quite a bit, but even if we're looking at the challenges and how quite a lot of the challenges have to do with ranking, like the snog, marry, pie challenge, in some ways you could say that people are being pied based on how attractive they are. And of course, character does influence whether or not you get snogged, married, or pied. So you could be pied based on how you've treated another islander. You could be pied based on how you've treated the person that is the pier. You become the pie because of how you treat the pier. That is also very possible. But sometimes you'll hear somebody get pied and be told, oh, he's like a brother. He's like a sister to me. I mean, she's like a sister to me. Or, yeah, like, you know, I just don't see it. Which you could argue, is that code for I just don't find you attractive and I don't want to have to kiss you. I definitely don't want to have to marry you. So I'm going to pie you in the face. And I can only imagine, first of all, don't pie me. You got my lashes like covered in cream cheese. Like, don't ever pie me in the face. But I can only imagine how embarrassing it becomes for the person that is getting repeatedly pied and maybe wondering, hold on, I haven't even done anything to you. I haven't done anything to you. I haven't done anything to another islander. So I feel like you're pieing me because you think I'm dead. She doesn't think I'm nice. He thinks I'm not cute. Is that why I'm being pied? Like, I can just imagine the embarrassment of that and that playing on your mind. I would go to sleep just looking at the scene and thinking, did I just get pied because they think I'm ugly? And another thing about attractiveness, I had to write this down based on Simba recoupling, and I know I said it wasn't going to be all about storylines, but of course, how could we talk about Love Island and not have some anecdotes? But imagine a guy leaving you for another woman and then people saying that they don't blame him because look how bad she is, I would lose it. I would quite frankly lose my how dare you justify a man betraying me on national TV because another woman is gorgeous and has like a really love. Whoa. I think I need to insert when Mara walked behind Simba. Legs and hips and body. But can you imagine that? And I mean, I know that that's something that people go through, but having to go through it on TV. There are people in America that are seeing this. There are people in Australia that are seeing, oh God. I feel it for her. Angelista, I feel it for you. Oh my days. Like, can you imagine what that does to your self-esteem? Being left for another woman and people are just like, Fairs, look at her. What about me though? I don't know how I would have to respond. I don't know how do you respond to that? And it's just such a shame because you can say that there were signs like Angelista. He had Angelista just standing there like an oaf on her own. And it's just such a shame because it's just such a shame because yeah, he had been acting an absolute fool before, but I feel it for her. I feel it for anyone that just gets left standing up there on their own, because if you know me, you know that I hate to be embarrassed. So the idea of standing there thinking like he knows where home is. He's coming back to me. Psych, here comes a bad one behind him. Oh my gosh. And it's not even about whether or not the girl is beautiful, whatever. It's not about that. It's about the fact that you've actually disgraced me in front of my mates. And it's the fact that you've only been gone for like, what, a week? It took you a week. We have known each other, been coupled up, whatever. You've got to be around me, see me, whatever. You might have even done things for weeks. And all it takes is 1 week away. But it's crazy how looks can justify a man or even a woman. Looks can justify a man or woman doing somebody wrong. Like I've seen it. We saw it with India and Dami when that whole situation went down and people were like, not gonna lie, Marlon looks way better than Dami, or I don't blame India because of XYZ. I just think I hate I just have to I just think that's such a horrible way to think. Like that mentality is disgusting. We need to lock everybody that thinks like that up. But just, yeah, it's just this justification that somebody deserves to be treated a certain way because of how they look or because somebody else looks better than them. And so in that case, you deserve, or it makes sense as to why you'd be treated that way. It just goes on to show how our appearances and how our appearance matters, and our appearance dictates whether or not somebody treats us favorably or not. It is social currency at the end of the day. For men too. Like, I mean, I believe that it's more social currency for women, but beauty and appearance and attractiveness is social currency, whether we want to admit it or not. And so with that, I say, my question for you guys is, how much does attractiveness shape our lives without us even noticing, without us even being aware? And with the whole pretty privileged conversation, pardon me, we have seen, or we often hear women say that because they have not been, and with the whole pretty privileged conversation, I've seen women talk about the fact that because they are conventionally attractive, men don't take them as seriously, or men tend to only want one thing. But I've also seen the other side where because somebody might not be considered conventionally attractive, they are bullied or they are disrespected, or a man is less kind. Like, I'm not sure if anyone has seen the TikToks of, for example, being in school and being told that you have to like work with your partner, and because the guy doesn't think that you're attractive, he almost acts as if you're not there. It's like, okay guys, talk to your partner next to you, and the guy's just like, oh bro, like did it and it's like you've got a whole human being next to you, but because she isn't your cup of tea to literally discuss, I don't know, Michelangelo's whatever, that painting, I forgot what it's called, but like because the person next to you isn't attractive, you don't even feel like they deserve a conversation. People like that as well. I just hate people that treat people better or worse based on how they look. Like I just think like, ew. I wish we could just section them all up and just put them in one corner. I just like people that make friends with other people based on this. I just think it's so nasty. Nasty. But number 3, oh my gosh, we've spoken a lot, haven't we? I think that Love Island also shows that we expect instant chemistry. So we'll hear Islanders say, "Oh, the spark just isn't there. I don't know, like he's so nice, but it's just missing something." No, like when I had a conversation with that guy, in the first conversation I knew, and I truly feel like Love Island reflects how modern dating often prioritizes, I want to say instant gratification. It prioritizes immediate excitement over slowly building connections with people. And it's funny because when you really do it, Love Island is just love bombing on TV. And it's so funny because if somebody doesn't love bomb or apply pressure, then all of a sudden, like, yeah, he's just a slow burn. Yeah, like, she's just uninterested. But it's like, in reality, if you took them out of the villa, that kind of behavior in a week or two, I'm blocking you. Like, who? I'm so sorry. What? What is going on? Yeah, we're exclusive. It's been 2 weeks. I don't even know you. I don't even know you. Like, I don't even like you. For me personally, it takes me like at least a month to decide, like, okay, tell me we like him. I feel like we like him. It takes minimum a month. Even by month 2, you can go, I'm not bothered, mate. Like, you can absolutely bog off in 2 months. I'm not phased. Even month 3, it's like, okay, now, by month 3, it's like, okay, now it's a bit of a shame, but let alone being on a TV show where you're pressured to move so fast and you're sleeping in bed with them already, and don't kiss me in a week. Don't. Is a week too much? I don't know. This is what I mean. For people like me, Love Island, they'd be like, yeah, she's a slow burn. I don't know. Like, maybe I am. I don't know. But I am not kissing and laying in bed. I don't want to do that. I don't want to. But I don't want to. I don't wanna, like, and it's just like, this kind of behavior that we see on Love Island that is happening in 1-2 weeks that is normal. Here, it's like, I mean, outside of the villa, I'd just be wondering, like, what's next? You're gonna kill me? You're gonna chop me up and dump my body in a river? Because it's almost like, why are you coming on so strong? But on on Love Island, you have to come on strong, or else you are the weirdo. Like, you're the one that is strange because you're not touching somebody up every hour of the day and it's day 5. Like, sorry? And can we talk about the meeting of the family? And the episode that I personally hate the most, just because I don't like having to do all that lovey-dovey stuff, like, in person. One thing about me, I'm a poet, mate. I have a way with words. But let me write my way of words to you. I don't want to have to stand up in what is almost a reception wedding dress and talk about how much I care about you and love you in front of all these people. And it's only been 6 weeks. Like, the meeting the mum, in real life, I don't think that's happening. People aren't meeting each other's parents 6 weeks in. People aren't doing that, undying love, pouring out your feelings, and it's been 8 weeks. I basically don't know you, mate. I don't even know the bloke. Like, he's a stranger to me. Do you know what I mean? But I just feel like it's a lot. It's a lot, but it very much reflects the fact that dating, in some ways, is weird. Because somebody could argue that dating has become a lot slower due to just the talking stage and situationships. But, could we say that dating has just become too fast in the sense that we are expecting commitment from people too early on? And this is what Love Island is reflecting. Like, I don't think that in 1 week, I mean, I see the thing with me. And this is what I was saying about don't take advice from people online because people are doing their own thing. But, like, for me, I'm already somebody that only speaks to one person at a time. So, yeah, I'm not doing the whole like, okay, now that I like this guy, I'm gonna cut off everybody else. I'm either talking to somebody or I'm not. And if I'm talking to somebody, it's one person. But for people that do like to do the talking and having rosters and all of that jazz, are we expecting them to cut everybody else off in 1 week because somebody else has come through? Is that realistic? I don't know. But yes, that was my third question. Let's move on to number 4, which is one of my fourth point, not fourth question, is that we confuse attention with value. And it links to what I was saying before. If a woman is more conventionally attractive or seen as conventionally attractive, sometimes it is hard to distinguish between when does a guy actually like you for you and when does a guy actually, not even actually, when does a guy like you because maybe his friends think, oh yeah, she's nice, da, 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 and then you decide to be the one to make the move. Or you've seen this girl on Instagram and you think, wow, I want to chat to her. Or maybe she would look good on my arm. I don't know. Like, oh, she would look good on my arm or something. For some guys, dating a specific type of woman is something to boast about. Like, yeah, this is my one. I don't know. So I feel like contestants often feel validated by having multiple people interested in them. I mean, it's a bit of an ego boost. But being desired does not equal compatibility. And that is something that even I have had to learn. Like, just because these people like you, it doesn't mean that it makes sense. A very hard one to learn. A very hard one to learn. But as I was saying, yeah, the whole idea that being desired does not mean that you and somebody else are compatible, that is again something that we on the outside of the villa experience too. But I think it's also interesting how on our screens it's being pitched to us that is almost normal for a man or a woman to have to be tested. It was a test. I just wanted to see if I could. No, that don't work here. Not around here. Not around here. All that testing. Go take your test, but make sure you stay in the exam hall. We aren't doing that. It's almost like you're having to prove your worth to a man or a woman and have to earn their interest. It's like it's normal over there. And it's not normal, but on the outside, I do feel like to an extent we have that as well. Excuse the fan, by the way. I have a fan positioned if you can hear it. If you can't, then ignore what I'm saying. But I have a fan. Shh. I have a fan positioned right next to my camera to prevent it from overheating again. But yeah, we see the typical girl likes the guy liked the girl too, but it's almost like she has settled down early or settled with him, has gotten comfortable early, and he just needs more time to explore and see what's out there. Way up in comparison to the girl that he's already coupled up with, and then based on how it works out with the other girl, he will either stay with the girl he's originally with or decide to move on to the other person. But it almost paints it as if it's normal for a guy to ditch you to weigh out his options. But whether it's normal or not, it happens. It literally happens. So yeah, I think that's another factor, or that's another aspect of real life that we see happen also in the villa. I've also written down that reality TV isn't reality, which a lot of us know. Love Island is edited. In some ways it can be scripted. We've literally seen islanders come out and say that producers would ask them to maybe go and start a conversation with this person, with that person, but viewers only see 1 hour. Your whole 24 hours is condensed down into 1 hour, and this is what we are judging people by. And we have to even think, like, conversations, not all conversations are shown. The music that they decide to play, like the tense music, the music that is like, oh yay, the lovey-dovey music, they strategically decide what kind of music to put as a background or after a certain scene. They decide when to reveal certain things. They know how to build suspense. And of course, it's entertainment at the end of the day. Like, you want to consume that entertainment. But I think we have to realize my other question. How much of our opinions are shaped by editing rather than reality? And this isn't just about Love Island. This is about news. Have you ever seen somebody count? This is about whoa, that's crazy. Anyways, this is about news, it's about politics, it's about social media, like even our social media algorithms. There are certain things that are shown to us because this is targeting us. No person has the exact same For You page as somebody else. Me and my best friend don't have the same For You page. For You page? Yeah, your For You. I was trying to think, is TikTok's thingy called something else? Me and my best friend, we have so much in common. Some may argue that we are basically the African and Latina versions of each other. Our For You pages are so different, and that is because what we are shown is specifically targeting us. So sometimes you have to wonder, wait, why am I seeing this? Then I had a few points about safeguarding and just like the whole duty of care. And did anybody else hear my jaw crack? Because I did. But is ITV and other broadcasters, are they doing enough to protect contestants? And I say that because if anybody watched Love Island USA, I believe it was last year's season, Huda and Jeremiah, oh my lord, it got to a point where it was no longer entertaining, it was becoming a lot, and it became a lot for me as a viewer. So you can only imagine how it was to actually live through that experience. For the other islanders, but Huda and Jeremiah themselves, it became kind of hard to watch, where we're actually seeing Huda cry, crash out, scream, cuss people out, swear, and then next minute be smiling and happy. And then we'll see her get really tense and be like, wait, are you saying that? Oh, did it? And then be calm and flirting and asking to have a shower with the same guy she just got onto 22 seconds ago. And then the outbursts, the crying, like it got to a point where it's like, can somebody remove her from the show? And that's not because of anything that I feel towards her. You know, I do think Love Island probably was not the show for her just yet, because I feel as though she had so many unresolved issues, which is okay. But when you have unresolved issues, I feel like, one, it's almost like it's being exploited, because everybody remembers Huda. Like, everybody remembers Huda. And even seeing like some of the things that she's gotten up to since leaving the villa, she just didn't need to be on there. So it almost makes me wonder, like, what is the screening process like? Are we doing psychological screening? And I'm not saying that there's anything psychologically wrong with her. That's not for me to say for her or anybody. But I do think that more needs to be done in terms of like, what is this person's mental state, or where does this person stand in terms of like dating? You can very, very quickly tell by having just a quick conversation with somebody where their head is at when it comes to dating, maybe asking them about like their previous dating experiences, you can very quickly tell where they are and whether or not they're ready for such a show. And I think with the producers knowing that Love Island is quite a emotional pressure cooker, it doesn't help to put contestants in that pressure cooker when they're already emotionally, ugh. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like I said, exploiting that emotional vulnerability for the sake of entertainment, which, to be fair, reality TV has always done that. Whether it's The Biggest Loser USA, for example, America's Next Top Model, they have always used vulnerable spots in people's lives to make entertainment and make great TV. But I do think it gets to a certain point where we actually are seeing somebody emotionally and mentally deteriorate right before our eyes. Like, it gets to a point where it's like, okay, you may be really entertaining, but it's really going far now. So yeah, I think, like, what is, I guess, the responsibility of the producers once filming ends, and do they need to intervene more? And the thing is, we've seen them intervene, but they almost intervene a bit too late. And their intervention usually comes after casting a islander who has been racist in the past, and you remove them after we've already gotten to know this character. We've seen that with, I had to even write down their names because the amount of times this has happened is getting weird. It's getting weird. Where is it? I had to write down everybody's names. Okay, so we've had Palmida from Love Island USA was removed for saying the N-word. Sierra from, I believe it was last year's Love Island USA, was used for using an Asian slur. And she already got deep into the competition with Nick. She was coupled up with Nick. And it was like, I think it's like the last few days she was removed from the island. And it's almost funny how there's Sierra has had to leave the island for personal reasons. It's nothing personal. Just say she's been removed because she said something racist. But yes, we've seen that. Vasna was kicked off for saying the N-word. Yulisa was kicked off for saying the N-word. Alana was kicked off for saying the N-word. And it's like, first of all, why is there such a pattern? Everybody says the N-word sometime in the past. They come on Love Island, they get kicked off. What's going on? But I do also want to say, and this is not to excuse them, but if you know you want to come on social media, and I better go check. But if you know you want to get into social media or be some sort of public figure, one, I think you need to check yourself. You know, should you necessarily be doing that if you are such a controversial character? I don't know. But also, maybe check your social medias. How can you want to be a public figure and not check your Twitter or not check your Snapchat or your Instagram, whatever it is? But I also think it's interesting how these things only come out when the person goes on a platform where I guess they're trying to better their lives. It's not funny, but it's almost funny. It's like there's people that are just waiting for someone to decide, you know what? I really want to like elevate my career, and they're like, pull you by your collar. Nope. No, you don't. She said the N-word, and then that's it. Nobody really wants anything to do with you after that. Because even if you get taken off of Love Island, but you've, I guess, shown enough, what brands are going to want to work with you after hearing this? You know? So I think, yeah. But in the same breath, we could say, if it's easy for us viewers to go online and find out that so-and-so has said this or done this before in the past, why is it so hard for the producers? Why have we got, how many names did I say? Was it not like 4 or 5? Why have we got like 5 people that have been taken off of Love Island for saying racist things that are just out there on the internet, by the way? How are like our viewers better casters, if that's the word I want to use? It's just very interesting. And even recently, somebody from this year's lineup of Love Island UK called Gabriel Garland He left the show for personal reasons, and it was because he had connections to a 2019 stabbing case. And apparently he was not the stabber. He didn't really have involvement in it, and he's tried to clear up his name. But I think regardless of whether or not you did it, the fact that your name is linked to that, you should never have been on the show. Why? If you know me, you know I know how to investigate. I probably could have found that out. It doesn't take much. Like, in today's day and age, mind you, we are just ordinary civilians. Producers and casters should have a lot more access to certain things that allow them to really get to the nitty gritty. The type of things that even us as viewers wouldn't be able to find out. We should not be having people like this casted on the show. Why is somebody that has been connected to violence on a show? Oh. Yeah. Are the producers doing their I hate this phrase, due diligence? I have to say due, because I always say due on Monday. Due diligence. So yes. And speaking of that, I think welfare teams need to be involved before, during the process, and after. We have seen 3 people that have been on the show in some capacity take their lives since leaving the show. And yeah, I think you can never truly prepare yourself for fame. Even those that have grown up in the spotlight struggle with fame. Those that were born into the spotlight struggle with fame. So you can only imagine somebody who is used to maybe like just going to their local Tesco, no one bothers them, no one cares, and now leaving Love Island and being pressured with, oh, can I even apply for certain jobs, because now that they've seen me on TV, they know my personality, they might not hire me. Am I making enough money for brand deals? Maybe not, but I can't go and get a real job, so then what can I do? And then the fact that you now can't go out and just live a normal life. You can't just go to Tesco and buy something in your pajamas without maybe being stopped and somebody wanted to have a conversation or somebody wanted to take a picture. How are they preparing people for fame? And even if it isn't a huge level of stardom, like Molly May, for example, how are they preparing them for the fact that, okay, even if you're not going to be this huge, celebrity, just getting used to the fact that now when you go out, people will probably try to take sneak pictures of you, or how to interact with people that have watched you over the past couple of weeks. What are the producers doing so that people just have a smoother transition back into the real world, so life after the villa? So the last thing that I want to speak about is food. And me and one of my friends had a really good conversation about this, and we spoke about how food has almost been weaponized to be this, I don't know how to describe it, it's almost something that should be a basic necessity has been used to kind of, I guess, have leverage over people or manipulate certain situations. So with the food comment, I spoke about the fact that it's already a hot environment. A lot of people, even if we look at Huda, so before Huda came into the island, she was quite toned. She looked amazing start to finish, but she was quite toned. She was consistent in the gym. I don't know if anyone has seen, but before coming into the island, she was, I guess, a gym influencer. Like, that was her niche and that was her content, was just like gym content. And being in the villa, you see her you just see her body kind of change. And it's not just her, and it wasn't drastic, but the islanders that have been on Love Island have literally spoken about the fact that food, I guess, doesn't become a necessity.
But most of the time I would say I was having for lunch and dinner hummus and crisps. I'd say my favourite was the breakfast, because you actually cook breakfast for yourself. So that's when all the boys would get the eggs, the toast and stuff out. So we have a snack cupboard, which is 8 out of 10 times full up. If it isn't and it's a bad day, some of us might kick off.
And the catering sometimes isn't the best. So for some people, their only meal in a day will be like the breakfast that they make themselves, or the cup of tea that the girls expect the boy they're coupled up with to make for them, a bit of toast, whatever it is, and then maybe later on it could be, I'll have to find it. I saved the video, I think it was Luca. I can't remember what he said, but they'd just eat maybe like avocado or something. And I do think that when you're in a hot environment, they're already in hot countries, hot places, you're in a hot environment, you're also under eating, you're probably dehydrated, and then probably experiencing heat exhaustion, all combined into one. Does that not influence your decision making? Some people experience heat stroke. I just had the funniest thought right now. Oh my gosh. But yeah, do these things not lead to just a level of deliriousness? And when you're delirious, how good is your decision making? And how good is your reaction to things? You know? How well are you able to compose yourself or react to things when you're hot, you're exhausted, you're tired? Even us just being in London, like when it's hot, you just kind of feel weak. So you can only imagine that mixed with being partially dehydrated and then hungry. And it's like, again, the duty of care. Are we really taking care of the islanders so that they're able to, I don't want to say present themselves in the best light, because at the end of the day, you should be natural, or as natural as you can be, being conscious of the fact that there are cameras watching your every move from morning till night. But how can somebody just be their best self when they're in that kind of state? And it just plays into the whole idea of capitalizing on moments when somebody is vulnerable. And me and my friend also spoke about the fact that because of like cost of living increasing and food going from being a basic necessity to a luxury, now we see a lot of designer brands, for example, and like fashion brands, beauty brands, they find a way to incorporate food into their items. And my friend actually went as far as to say it's almost as if like you may not be able to afford a meal, but you can almost have this item that is donut scented, for example, or pancake scented or fruit flavored. And it's almost this like tying the need for food with the need for this item, and using food as a way to market and bring people in. Hopefully I'm explaining it. She explained it in such a thought-provoking way. And to be honest, I too have noticed that food is a very big market now. Like you'll see maybe a lip balm be like covered in like honey drizzles, for example, or a hair mask. There's a brand called Jisoo, if that's how you pronounce it, and I love their marketing. But do I love their marketing because it's really nice, or do I love their marketing because it reminds me of food and it's like, oh, that looks like something I'd want to eat, but you can't eat it? So it's just very interesting to see how food in general has almost been like weaponized and made like a bit of a power tool. So yeah, some people may say that's a bit of a reach. I'd like to know you guys' thoughts. I don't know if I necessarily presented it in the best way, but I definitely thought it was some food for thought. No pun intended. So yeah, I just want to wrap it up. I could really go on. There's so much I could say, from couples feeling the need to stay together due to social pressures from Love Island, Mimi and Josh, Dami and India, so many other people that I could say, to race, yet again, exploiting people for entertainment. But we've said a lot, we've said a lot. But feel free to comment any areas you feel like I haven't covered, or even expand on certain points that I've made. But yeah, to conclude, Love Island is not simply a dating show, and I feel like when you watch it from more of a like social experiment kind of lens, you can really look deeper into the storylines and understand that even though these are storylines, they also reflect what is going on in the real world and what a lot of us are experiencing as well. So yes, I'm gonna wrap it up here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you if you watched to the end of this video. I love you and I appreciate you. And I hope you actually enjoyed what I spoke about. And I hope you felt like, you know what, this is a very fresh take, you know? This is a very fresh take and it's actually made me think. Because that's what we're here for in the Collective Speaks. We're all about getting people to think about things that they might not have thought about. Or think about things deeper than what they were thinking before. So yes, thank you guys again for watching. Any ideas that you have for more videos like this, maybe try to dissect other shows, let me know. Like this is my bag right here. This is my bag right here. So I'm gonna love you guys and leave you, and I'm gonna see you again hopefully in my next video. Don't forget to please like this video, subscribe, comment, share it to somebody you think might enjoy this, and I'll see you again